Hey guys, welcome to your first blow dry tutorial. This here is Erica and she's looking for a voluminous hairstyle. On the floor we are going to refer to this hairstyle as the high rise. Alright, first thing that I want to talk about, because it is the most important thing when you're getting started to do a blow dry, are grabbing the appropriate products for her style. So her hair is rather fine and she wants lots of oomph. So at the shampoo bowl, I would have used something like Pure Volume. If she needed a little frizz control, maybe we could use the Hydrate Sheer. But regardless, you're gonna wanna use something very, very lightweight with a little bit of bounce. When we get back to the chair, we wanna make sure that we grab the appropriate styling aids. We wanna start everybody with a leave-in conditioner or a cutting lotion if we're cutting something along those lines. In this case, I chose the Redken 25. So we would mist this all over her hair before we begin. We would comb this through and then we're going to grab our styling products. We're going to use Redken Guts and we're going to concentrate this in her crown area, right at her root. For her mids and ends, we're going to use Redken Full Frame. And when she's all done and we want to give her a little bit of shine, a little bit of movement in her ends, seal down the cuticle, we're going to finish with the Redken Oil for All. So now that we know the appropriate products that we want to use on her, let's talk about how we're going to get her started once we get her back to the chair. We're going to bring our guest back to the chair. Always make sure that you use a towel to absorb some of the extra moisture as well. And the first thing you're going to do is grab your blow dryer, put it on a low setting, and begin to blow dry out all of the excess moisture. Now we don't want to blow dry too much because we obviously don't want to begin drying her hair in this like very quick frizzy fashion. That's just to get out the water that's literally like dripping from the hair. Now that we've done that to Erica, we're going to grab her sections. So the girl in the photo didn't have a part. Her hair literally just like voluminous is back, but Erica's part tends to fall down the center. So that's fine. We're going to keep Erica with the center part. We're literally just gonna grab a front quad, like right behind the ear for section 1. And the same thing on the other side of her head. Let me pop her off so you can see. Literally just like 2 sections. And then this entire back section, I'll face her backwards so you can see. We're just gonna put into a few subsections. These subsections are gonna be different depending on whose head you're working on and how much density they have in the back of their head. Erica doesn't tend to have very much, so we're only going to do 3 little subsections. So you want your subsections to be like 2 inches thick or so, and then as you're blow drying, you're going to grab tiny sections from those sections. All right, so a style like this, a style like the high rise, we wanna start in the front of her face because that's where a lot of this style comes from. The crown and right around the front of the face. That's where she's gonna get all of her volume from. So we don't wanna focus too much in the back. We kind of just want there to be like movement through the back of her hair. So we're going to begin blow drying Erica in the front now that we have her sectioned. Let me just show you on our sample photo. See how much body she has, right? All this oomph in through here. And she doesn't really have a part, like I said. Erica does, that's fine. But regardless, we wanna start in this like very front tier. So we're actually going to take down our 2 front sections and we're gonna begin blow drying everything forward. One thing that I always tell everybody is so important is making sure that you pick a round brush that is the right size of the section that you're grabbing. So this is I believe it's a 2-inch, maybe 1.5-inch round brush. It's the 55. I think these are all of the brushes that we have in the salon. So we're going to place our round brush literally right, I believe in school they call this off base, because we're gonna bring it forward and over direct the hair because we wanna give her lots and lots of volume and let her hair decide where it wants to fall on its own. So we're gonna put our blow dryer on a low setting because we don't wanna create frizz, and we're going to start right at zone 1, right in front of her face, over directing the hair forward, beginning blow drying zone 1, and then we're going to blow dry zone 2 and 3 through the ends while we give them lots of movement. I'm gonna go ahead and do that example for you now. Now that we have this section blown dry, we're gonna hold our brush here for a second while we spin it for a few minutes. And the reason is that we wanna let the hair cool and set, because in that photo, she had lots of flicks and kicks through the ends of her hair. If we pull this brush out too soon, we're gonna lose the entire shape that we just created. So hold the brush here, let the shape get created, let the shape cool off, and then once it does, go ahead and remove that brush from the hair. See how we're already starting to get the look of the high rise. Lots of volume, lots of flick. Move her a little bit closer, you guys, so you can see. Her part is undefined at the moment, that's fine. You want it to be a very movable style. Now we're gonna choose one side of her head to go to. Left or right, really doesn't matter. We're gonna go right along the hairline and we're gonna bring everything forward again, forward, back. Make sure that you're over directing the hair starting in zone 1, then we're gonna move back through the rest of the hair. And then we'll move on to the sides and I'll show you how you're gonna do that. Go ahead and move all of the hair that's already dried out of your way and grab your new section that is wet. I'm sure that you noticed when I was doing this section, I only grabbed the amount of hair that would fit on my brush. So you only want the hair, the sections of hair, to fit literally within the width of your brush. And you probably also noticed that I wasn't wiggling my blow dryer the whole time. Moving your blow dry, especially when you're at the root area, is only going to create frizz. So grab your sections, move slow and steady, make sure you have your amount of hair that's fitting on your brush, make sure it's not a big fat section. You want about like maybe an inch worth of like thickness on your brush, and then just move nice and slow through your sections of hair as you dry it. they're gripping right into the bristles of my brush. You want to make sure you're grabbing those hairs for your client. Now we're going to go ahead and set that section, and we're going to move back through the rest of that side section. Everything else is going to just be blown dry, kind of like up and down with a little bit of a bend. I'll go ahead and demonstrate, and you can just watch from there. So now that we have her side panels blown dry, we're coming back up into Erica's crown again. This is where Erica's gonna get a lot of her lift for this style. So if this section is clipped, go ahead and remove your clip. And you're gonna grab like about an inch from either side of her part within her crown. So again, a 2-inch section because we have a 2-inch size round brush. Go ahead and comb through your section, and we're going to blow dry, over directing this hair forward, beginning at zone 1 until we blow dry zone 1. We are not going to move on to 2 and 3. Once 1 is dry, then we will slowly move back throughout the rest of the section. Another thing that I want to mention is you'll probably realize when I'm holding my blow dryer, right, Erica's scalp is right here. Obviously we don't want to blow dry Erica, or burn Erica. So we don't want to hold our blow dryer completely straight on like this. I'm literally directing the hair right onto her scalp. You want to hold it at a very slight angle, so your air is directed upwards. So I'll go ahead and do that so you can see what I mean. Sense? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the other side of Erica's head. Let's take all of the hair that's already dried and kick it over to one side of Miss Erica's face. Then we're gonna move on to her other side, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. See that section? Literally about an inch thick, because again, I want to make sure I'm grabbing all of her teeny tiny baby hairs. All right, now same thing again through her side quads. Gonna bring everything slightly up, give it a little back flip. When I get to her tippy top section, I'm gonna blow dry it forward, and then I'm going to bring it back until it cools. you can see how much lift Erica is getting off from the very top of her head because we brought the hair up and then we swung it back. Let's go ahead and set these pieces of hair out of Erica's face while we move on to our back sections. Now, in the back of Erica's head, remember earlier I had told you that we've separated Erica into 3 quads. So Erica has 1, 2, 3 sections, and then we want to subsection those into about 1-inch sections. Again, we just want the hair large enough that it's going to fit right on our round brush. We're not really looking for any elevation or anything back through here. This is the back of her head. So we just want to make sure that we're definitely drying her hair at zone 1 so that she's not left with any frizz in through this area. And we're just going to smooth it through her ends. But at the very end, we're going to give it just a tiny bit of bend. Then when we get to the next section, we'll bend the other way. Next section, bend the other way. Next section, bend the other way. That's going to make sure she has lots of movement in through her style. We're literally going to do that up the entire back of her head. The only time that's going to change is when we get to her crown. Then we're going to grab this area, over direct again, but we're going to incorporate it with the rest of her hair. I'm just going to go ahead and move through these sections while you guys watch. So a couple things to take note of. As I'm getting higher up in her hair, this hair has been sitting for a while, so you'll notice that I'm not having to spend as much time blow drying zone 1. That's because she's been sitting, her hair is already starting to dry. So you're really just kind of like touching that hair to make sure that it's nice and smooth and it's not getting super flyaway or frizzy. Once you've done that, then go ahead and move on to 2 and 3. Again, you'll notice I'm taking one section to the left, one section to the right as they cool, so that she has lots of movement in through here so that it's not just like hanging straight for her. Now, as we're getting further up in the head, you'll probably also notice that I'm coming out further with my entire blow dry. Now, as we come up into the crown, like I had mentioned before, now we're going to start coming directly up off the head. I believe that's called a 90 when you're in hair school, if you're looking for that reference. But we're literally just gonna go straight up, and then when we hit the tippy top of the crown, completely over direct everything forward. I'm gonna go ahead and finish through these sections while you watch. you can see how she still has like her very defined sections. So the last part of this blow dry is going to be to kind of marry it all together. So you're just going to turn her around, comb through her hair, see where it all falls. Wherever it's seeming still quite separated, you're going to go with your blow dryer, hit those sections, marry it all together. Also check for any damp sections and make sure you get all of the moisture out of there before she leaves you. I'm gonna go ahead and go through and get all of those areas out of my hair before I show you the final look. Volume and lift she has from the root. I'm going to show her a little bit closer to you because I think it might be hard to see on my mannequin stand. So if she really didn't want a part, then you could go ahead and blow dry that backwards. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing this way. Let's just go ahead and tip her over. It's hard to see in the camera. You guys probably already know that by now with all the videos you've been doing. So in the salon, maybe I'd ask my guests to tip her head slightly backwards and then grab like a wet brush or a Denman and go ahead and comb all of these hairs backwards before I did her hairspray. But now I'm gonna turn her around so you can see how much lift and volume she has. Lots and lots of movement. Our Erica does really need a haircut. We'll do that later. But look how much body and movement in that blow dry. Like I said, if you have her tip her head back, just imagine. So go ahead and do like your hairspray there and you can see she's gonna have a very similar shape to the girl in our photo. There it is, your very first blow dry tutorial. Also my very first blow dry tutorial. The high rise. Thanks guys.